So today I'm really excited about my guest. We're going to be talking about everything and anything to do with our health and staying safe, but also staying in good health and taking care of our bodies during this time. So I'm very excited to welcome today. Our guest is Dr. Prince, who is a naturopathic doctor, as well as she is the owner of Nurturing Health here in Cobourg. So thank you for being here today.
Oh, thanks for having me, Jacqueline.
Thank you. And you're also obviously a busy mom with 2 young kids at home. So definitely juggling a lot of different hats right now.
Yes, that's been, I think, the challenge of this time is, obviously I was off from work for a little bit, but now having everyone home and doing some more business stuff from home than I had originally planned has been a little bit of an adventure.
Yes, yeah. And so for those that don't know, so how old are your kids that you have at home right now?
So I have my daughter is 3, and I have an almost 4-month-old son also. And then my husband's been working from home, and I've been running most of the business from home as well since the pandemic started.
Yes, yeah. So definitely in terms of kind of, I think you're like a lot of young families right now where you have 2 parents working, kids at home. I keep saying in terms of kind of for our, millennial kind of 30, 40 something generation, I think it's definitely a pretty challenging time with what a lot of us are managing. And you're, certainly a good example of that. Mom, doctor, business owner, what aren't we doing right now, really?
Yeah, I think it's the situation that a lot of families are in right now. And as a mom and working with lots of new moms and families and things like that, I think it's challenging because as well as we might be able to multitask and as, many different hats as we do wear, I think we weren't really meant to do so much all at once and have, do everything well at that. Some families are, homeschooling or helping with distance education, and they have young children and their spouses are home, and it's been a lot. And I think it's a challenging time for most right now.
Yeah. So with that being said, so how have you been finding, how are you balancing all of those many roles that you have right now?
Well, like I said, it's been a bit of an adventure. I think in the early days, like most, I don't know that we were balancing things very well at all. We were trying to find a new routine and obviously get used to having a family of 4, which we were just newly introduced to at the end of January. So, and I think for us, like, I'm someone who likes to have a plan. So all the uncertainty was, needless to say, a little bit uncomfortable. I think now we're managing a little bit better. I mean, it's perfect by no means. Some days are great and other days are a disaster. And I think that's okay. We're all doing the best that we can. But we've found that, sticking to some sort of loose routine has really worked for us, has worked for our kids. And trying to just really focus on the things that we can control because there's so much uncertainty right now. So, we've implemented a little bit of, I would say, self-care, trying to do a little bit more exercise or movement during the day. The nice weather definitely helps, getting outside as much as we can, having a little bit more time for like trying new recipes and cooking, and really doing our best to just stay connected with family and friends, virtually, and just trying to, at the end of the day, appreciate the extra time that we're getting together. So that's kind of helped us get through the day, and we tackle every day as it comes.
Yeah. Well, that's very well said. I like that in terms of kind of, again, nothing's perfect, but it sounds like you guys are really finding good ways of moving forward with it.
Yeah.
So in terms of kind of, to get into a little bit in terms of kind of, your main hat that we're going to be talking about today was obviously a naturopathic doctor. We talked a lot about stress there in terms of kind of and how everybody's really handling that. Is there anything that you would recommend or thoughts in terms of kind of foods or supplements that we can be consuming to kind of help with that?
Yeah, so I think it's a great question, especially at a time like this when there is a lot of different stressors at play for people. And for many of my patients who have worked with me know that I'm very big on kind of getting back to basics, and I'm a little bit more minimalist in the sense that I feel like less is often more. So one of the big things that I like to focus on is diet and lifestyle. And one of the things I like to talk about a lot is working on like balancing blood sugar levels, because we know that if our blood sugar levels are not balanced during the day, it can create a little bit more stress on the body, but it can also precipitate feelings of anxiety, depression. With kids, when their blood sugar levels dip, we see a lot of changes in behavior or tantrums or things like that. So balancing blood sugar levels really is as simple as, eating smaller regular meals. This is not always easy if you're a new mom and you are, distracted by your kids and feeding your kids or feeding your family. And then we're usually kind of last in line as far as that comes. And that basically looks like, having a breakfast soon after you get up, snacks, lunch, just kind of grazing throughout the day to keep it balanced. And another component of balancing your blood sugar levels is increasing protein consumption. So what I usually recommend to patients is, try to incorporate at least one protein source with every meal and most snacks. This applies for both parents and children alike. And protein sources could be, eggs, nuts, seeds, Greek yogurt, good quality lean proteins or meats, lentils, legumes. I mean, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a mass amount, but we know when we have more protein in our diet, it goes a long way with regards to supporting immune function, and also a healthy stress response, which is, I think, what most of us kind of need right now. Limiting refined sugars is also a given. Looking for those really hidden sources of sugar, so like flavored yogurts, fruit juices, granola bars, pop candy, things like that, which I think maybe a little bit more than others right now are things that we kind of crave as a reward at the end of the day to say, hey, we survived another one. Here's a treat to myself. And limiting caffeine, I think, is maybe a bit loaded to say right now, but it goes a long way with regards to decreasing the stimulus that might be on your nervous system. And we know that excess caffeine consumption, or for those who are sensitive to caffeine, can kind of precipitate anxiety. It can make us feel a bit more jittery or edgy. And I think our ability to respond and cope can be a little bit diminished depending on how much we may or may not be drinking. From a supplement perspective, I mean, supplementation can be appropriate. There are lots of supportive nutrients, magnesium, B vitamins, different herbs out there that support a stress response and adrenal function. But what I always say is, because we like to treat everybody as the individual that they are, what is appropriate for one person may not be appropriate for another, depending on previous health conditions or medications that they might be taking. So it's always important to speak with your allied health professionals or naturopathic doctor to make sure that what you're taking is safe and appropriate for your needs.
Yeah, great advice in terms of I've actually been trying to cut down on caffeine a little bit. I'm famously known for, I'm a big lover of espresso. So I'm kind of cut it down to one espresso a day. So definitely taking some of that advice to heart and paring down on the sugar as well. So basically nothing fun. Don't eat anything fun. It's really what it comes down to. So with that in mind, so what do you feel is something important that we can be doing to help us come out of this in the best way physically as possible?
Yeah, I think it's, a lot of what I've already mentioned is obviously relevant to that. I think, it can be simple as focusing on eating well, and that doesn't mean, perfect all the time, like everything in moderation. I would say moving well, getting out, get off the couch. It could be gardening, it could be going for a walk. That can do a lot to kind of support mood and overall health. Sleep is another big thing for me. I mean, we don't have maybe as strict a schedule as we previously used to since this whole pandemic started, but sticking to a relatively good sleep schedule, consistent to bed, consistent get up the morning, can also help to support us physically, because I really think good quality sleep is something that a lot of people lack. But if you're getting good sleep, everything is better. And if you're not sleeping, things are not as great as they could be. And then my last thing would be just to, breathe. I think focusing on our breath, recentering ourselves, taking a minute to just decompress and maybe dissociate from what might be going on, the various stressors, is also something that benefits us physically, but also mentally, emotionally, spiritually, to kind of round out the whole picture.
Yeah, great advice. And to be honest, that seems to be a common theme. Actually, we spoke with Kate from your office as well, and that was actually something she referenced and talked a bit about breathing exercises. So seems to be a pretty common thing as well.
Yeah, and something simple and free, right? At a time when a lot of families are feeling some financial stress, I think doing the things that you can do for free are really important.
Yeah, absolutely. So can you give us some guidance on how we can support our immune systems to help us prepare better for when essentially the social distancing guidelines start to loosen and we start to get back out into the real world?
Yeah, so this is something that we discuss frequently with our patients, not just during COVID-19 pandemic, but in general, because a lot of what we do, again, from a diet and lifestyle perspective, helps to boost our innate and adaptive immune function so that we are more resilient or more able to fight off different viruses and things like that. So the things I mentioned previously, balancing blood sugar levels, increasing protein consumption, adequate healthy fats, limiting refined sugars, those are all really important things that go towards building more optimal immune function. From a, fruits and vegetable perspective, we usually say incorporate the colors of the rainbow. Those brightly colored fruits and vegetables contain high amounts of vitamin A, C, E, zinc that you might get in something like pumpkin seeds are all really important nutrients for supporting overall immune function. There are different immunosupportive, supplements or herbs that may be indicated when appropriate. Important to speak to your primary care provider or naturopathic doctor with regards to those. I think people also sometimes maybe don't, or they might underestimate the value of things like fermented foods. So, kefir, sauerkraut, kimchi, things like that. Those can also be really good for just supporting gut flora, and they contain good amounts of probiotics. Not necessarily having to supplement with a capsule form of those. And then something like, bone broth is also really good for boosting immune function and gut health. I will come back to reiterate that adequate restorative sleep is crucial with regards to boosting immune function, because when we sleep, that's the only time that our body has during the day to go into reboot mode or rejuvenate mode. So if we're kind of missing that component, your body is always on. And I think a lot of people are finding that now, especially with everybody home and maybe working from home and things like that. And then whatever you can do as far as stress management. We know that stress has a really big impact on overall immune function. There's lots of research on this to date. So anything that helps you to reduce stress is great. That might be meditation. It might be exercise. It might be, connecting with a counselor to kind of help work through things. But we know that that's an important factor to optimizing immune function, optimizing hormonal health, things like that.
That's good advice. So what do you feel is one positive thing that's come down from us kind of having to be forced to slow down and stay in more?
Yes, so I think this is the more challenging aspect to see maybe on the day-to-day, but I think that there is, if I may call it, a little bit of a silver lining in all of this. And the challenge that I see with so many of my patients on a daily basis is that we want to feel better. We want to be living our best life possible. And that might mean we want to have more energy, or we want to lose weight, or we want to sleep better at night. We want to have a better, mood or hormonal health. But the challenge when we are living our regular life is that it's so fast paced and the demands are quite intense, and we lack the time factor. And it's hard to kind of convince people or show them how they might be able to slow down, because those things are things that are kind of depleting us overall. So I think for us, whether it's been welcomed or not, what the pandemic has given us is time, time with our families, maybe a bit more time to plan out meals or experiment with other recipes, maybe having a little bit more time to focus on ourselves. Or we've had quite a few people inquiring about, virtual visits or things like that, because all of a sudden they don't have to leave the house. They don't have to factor in time. They just need to, go sit in their car or lock themselves in one of their rooms and
Mhm.
take a couple minutes. So I think that that's been really good. I think it's forced many of us to maybe reprioritize and focus on things that matter, and maybe realize how little we actually need from a consumerism perspective to survive. And I think for me, the biggest thing that I've seen, which is great, is this, renewed sense of appreciation for so many different things, frontline workers, appreciation for our own health and the healthcare system that we have in our country compared to other countries. We can appreciate maybe how much money we do or we don't need, what the environment kind of gives us. And I think few will disagree that we have learned to appreciate more what social interaction and connection with people actually brings us. So I like to think that it'll maybe help reset our systems a little bit and refocus us, so that as we do kind of get back to our businesses and our work and our new reality, we might be able to maintain a little bit of a sense of that to shift things, health and well-being in a positive direction.
Very, very well said. And I know I speak probably for most parents about how much more we're appreciating our educators and our teachers. Not that we didn't before, but as someone who's married to a teacher, I'm sure you've heard that trying to teach a 6-year-old, they've got a tough job. So let's,
Absolutely. And, being on with that many kids at one time, I say, I don't know how they do it. There's a reason why I work a lot of one-on-one with people, but it's realizing these things that previously maybe were undervalued or underappreciated because of how we've had to shift in the present time.
Yeah, absolutely. So just one more question for you. So what are you looking forward to most when this is said and done and we kind of start to get back to our new normal?
Oh, I feel like I haven't quite, nailed it down, but I think I'm looking forward to, my toddler being able to interact with other children and not be
Mm-hmm.
so maybe reliant on us as parents to kind of keep her occupied and play. I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing friends, not just from a social distancing perspective, but, in a little bit more close quarters in our house. Getting back to work, trying to figure out what that looks like, will be interesting too. But I have to say, I'm really looking forward to going to a restaurant or having a night out, with my husband without our children, because it's something that I think we knew we enjoyed before, but I don't think we realized how much we miss it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're kind of in lockdown mode at home.
Yes, yeah. And has to be twice as challenging given that you have a newborn at home. So you're dealing with all the new challenges as, a new mom again, but then also dealing with it in a very unique circumstance. So I can certainly see you guys definitely need a night out, that's for sure.
Yes, we'll look forward to it when the time comes.
Yes. So for those who are looking for more information on your services in terms of kind of maybe more of a customized individual plan or an assessment, where can they find you?
So we, Nurturing Health is located in Cobourg, on Spencer Street. For more information about all of our services, you can check out our website, which is www.nurturinghealth.ca. You can reach us by email, because we do still have people working virtually in the office. And you can also find us on social media, on Facebook and also on Instagram. And our handle is at Nurturing Health Northumberland.
Great, thank you, and very much appreciate your guidance today and with you being with us here today. So thank you very much, Dr. Prince, and you take care.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jacqueline. Have a great day.